Good afternoon. This is Robertscribbler. Thank you for joining me for another installment of Extreme Clean, which is an evaluation and ongoing process, my attempt to get myself eventually to net zero and hopefully eventually net negative carbon emissions. This is an individual process. It's my own Green New Deal, if it were my way of working toward a cleaner lifestyle, and as a way of directly confronting human-caused climate change, and also as a way of showing that it can be done, and hopefully helping to inform how it can be done on a personal level. This is in addition to other actions that are necessary, like political actions and installing leaders that make it easy for us to rapidly confront the crisis that is human-caused climate change. And it is definitely a crisis that we are now seeing the impacts of. So before I get into the most recent episode of Extreme Clean and looking at my transition to clean energy, I'd like to talk briefly about the ongoing climate crisis. And as of February 2019, the Earth experienced its third hottest February in all of the 139-year running global climate record, according to NASA. February of 2019 was approximately 1.14 degrees Celsius above 1880s averages, or 0.92 degrees Celsius above the NASA 20th century baseline. And this particular graphic shows temperature anomalies across the globe during February, with, again, as we have frequently seen, the polar regions and the higher latitude regions, for the most part, showing much above average temperatures, but with also most of the globe showing above average to far above average temperatures for the month of February. And this particular month is one in a long-running stream of month after month after month, year after year after year, of much warmer than normal global temperatures and increasing global temperatures overall, as has been driven by the massive carbon emissions coming from our greenhouse gas and fossil fuel-based infrastructure across the world. At present, these high departures in temperature are leading to an increased tempo of climate change-related disasters, the most recent of which affecting the U.S. are massive Midwestern floods, which have caused more than $1 billion in damages now, and the final tally in damages has not been totaled. This is still an ongoing extreme event related to climate change. And unfortunately, this particular event is likely to last, as the extreme weather situation that is resulting in these powerful storms striking the Midwest has persisted now for about a month at least. And it's these persistent weather patterns and extreme persistent weather patterns that are becoming more common. This particular kind of extreme weather, persistent extreme weather, due in part to apparent changes in the jet stream and increased atmospheric loading for extreme weather events due to a heightened hydrological cycle. Heightened rates of evaporation and precipitation were warned about by climate scientists on numerous occasions, and with global temperatures running now in the range of about 1 to 1.2 degrees Celsius above normal, we are seeing these kinds of events occur with increased frequency, and these events are resulting in more and more damage on both a national and a global basis. Now, moving more toward me, my personal story about how I am trying to help mitigate and lessen the impact, the force of what is an ongoing crisis, I'm going to talk about my present project, which is an attempt to transition to a clean energy vehicle and then share that clean transport with others, thus multiplying my clean energy impact on a personal level. And last week I wrote about highly capable clean energy vehicles that are now available, that are within reach to me, as a way of evaluating which one I'm going to choose, because I'm going to purchase one this month and within a few days. And I looked at the Chevy Bolt, the Tesla Model 3, the Nissan Leaf long range, and the Hyundai Kona electric, as well as the Kia Niro electric, all of which are very capable electric vehicles with ranges in excess of 200 miles, fast charging capability. So very capable electric vehicle platforms. I asked you to provide me with some feedback as to which one you thought was the best after providing my best analysis that I could in a 3,000 word blog. And according to you, the 58% of those of you who voted in my Twitter poll chose the Tesla Model 3 Standard Plus as the best offering among these four highly capable electric vehicles. Myself personally, I have not yet decided, but I do agree that the Tesla Model 3 has a number of very attractive options. Now, for this particular video blog, I am going to evaluate charging infrastructure for these electric vehicles, and we're going to subdivide these vehicles in the category of the rest, meaning the Chevy Bolt, the Nissan Leaf, the Kona and Niro electric, and the Tesla Model 3. And the reason why we're doing that is there is a charging infrastructure that is available to all electric vehicles if you have the right plugs and adapters. And then on top of that, you have the Tesla supercharger network, which is only available to Teslas. And the supercharger network is highly capable. So we're going to break it down into these two categories. Now, looking at my local area, so before I do that, actually, I'd like to talk about what my particular needs are. Now I live in a condominium, and my condominium does not provide charging at present in the parking lot. Now, there is a potential for getting a charging station in the parking lot, and I could push for that, and I'm looking to try and push for that by going to the condo association board and asking them to partner with a agency like ChargePoint or even Tesla to get a charging station put in our parking lot, so that those of us with electric vehicles will have access to charging directly in the lot. But that is a longer term project, maybe multiple months, maybe a year. And I want to have access to a clean energy vehicle now as a way of helping to cut my carbon emissions. And so in order to do that, I'm going to have to get charging not at home. Now, my first option is to try to get charging at work. So for me, since I work at home, that's not an option. However, my wife, Kat, who works for the Humane Society of the United States, does have access to free charging while at work. So if we purchased a clean energy vehicle, we could charge that vehicle while she was at work. Now that's a good option. It provides us with free charging, but since I'm going to be engaged in rideshare, it is not best to just lean on that, because many times I like to do rideshare while my wife is at work. So at best, I could maybe rotate our present Hyundai Elantra with the Model 3 if we were only using CAT's work charging network. That's not ideal. I'd like to be able to use the Model 3 more for rideshare. So what I'm looking at, in addition to the work charging that's available through my wife, is the local charging network. And for that, there is an excellent resource. It's called PlugShare, and it provides a map of all the charging stations that are local to my area and also global charging stations around the world. And it's just worth pointing out that charging infrastructure is expanding across the world as the number of electric vehicles increase and as demand for charging increases. In my local area, in Gaithersburg, there are a huge number of both level 2 charging stations and fast charging stations. Now, level 2 charging stations charge electric vehicles at a rate of about approximately 15 to 30 miles worth of electric charge per hour. And this is good for times when you're resting or when you're at work, or even to get extra charge while you're dining, just to help top your vehicle off. And for my purposes, I'm looking at charging stations, level 2 charging stations that I could use over a decent period of time that are nearby. And luckily, there are 3 charging stations that are within 2 blocks of my location, my home location. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here on my local area, and so that you can see. So this little cluster here are the local charging stations near me, and they include a couple of charging stations at auto malls and one at Hampton Inn, all of which are within 2, maybe 3 blocks of where I live. This is great because I can park the electric vehicle and walk home and let it charge at these charging stations, providing me with a good option. It's worth noting that 2 of these charging stations do cost money. They're 45 cents per kilowatt, which is roughly equivalent to the present cost of gas, so that's not ideal. But the 3rd charging station is free, and the only thing that I would need to charge at this particular charging station is a J1772 adapter to add if I didn't have a 1772 plug or just a 1772 plug. So that's good. This is providing me with more options to charge really close to my home, and not something that I was aware of until I started looking at charging stations and using the PlugShare app to figure out what kind of solutions were available for me to charge my electric vehicle, even despite the fact that I don't have a home charging station. Now, the other thing that I'm looking at is fast charging nearby. And within 5 miles of my house, there are a total of 6 fast charging stations. And these are indicated in the orange here. And 5 of these charging stations are non-supercharger stations. These are provided by charging networks like EVgo or Chademo or Charge America. And all of these charging stations are 40 kilowatts or higher and capable of completely recharging an electric vehicle of the kind that I'm looking at within 1 hour and 20 minutes or less. And that's really good, that the fact that there are 5 of these. Now, as we look at these, this is where the bifurcation between electric vehicles such as the Kona, the Bolt, the Nissan Leaf, and the Kia Niro start to differentiate from the Tesla. And the reason is that those 4 vehicles are only capable of 50 kilowatt fast charging at present, and that's a slower rate of charge than what the Tesla is capable of. And in addition, the Tesla is the only electric vehicle among those that has access to the supercharger. Now, the local supercharger in my area is at the Rio, which is it's like a shopping center. It's like a mixed living, walkable community shopping center, hotels, movies, that kind of thing. And there are 12 stalls at a garage in the Rio, all of which provide up to 120 kilowatts of fast charging, which could fast charge a Tesla of the kind that I'm looking at in 30 to 40 minutes, which is about twice as fast as these other fast chargers. Now, it's worth pointing out that Tesla superchargers are not available for use while ride sharing. However, I did speak with a Tesla rep, and they considered fair use of the supercharger to be once or twice per week. So if I'm ride sharing and I use the Tesla supercharger, not as I'm working, just sitting in a stall, but if I kind of low on the charge, I drive in once or twice a week to get topped off, they see that as okay. It's just as long as I'm not overusing it or abusing it or doing it at the same time that I'm sitting there with my rideshare app going in the stall, just blocking a stall. So that is something that is an option for me if I get a Tesla Model 3, and that admittedly is a very attractive option, something that would make my charging life a lot easier and a lot more convenient. Now, it's also worth noting that Tesla is now in the process of upgrading its charging stations to a version 3 that's capable of charging at a 250 kilowatt rate, which would knock down the charging time to around 20 minutes, maybe 20 to 30 minutes, because you don't typically charge at the peak rate the whole time. But even so, that is a major leap, again, being provided by Tesla versus the 50 kilowatt fast charging that is now provided by these other highly capable electric vehicles that I was looking at. So overall, there are a lot of charging options in my area, a lot more than what I thought there would be. And with the addition of the Tesla supercharger, it certainly looks doable. Now, so I'm just going to go ahead and talk a little bit more about the supercharger network. And this is a major selling point for Tesla in general, the fact that Tesla is the only electric automaker that is really pushing hard to develop its own charging network and to upgrade them. And across North America, there are now 1,441 supercharger stations with a total of 12,888 superchargers. And Tesla is adding more of these all the time. Tesla also provides regular charging networks as well, and those are regular chargers as well, and these are provided on this map as indicated in gray. So just a very substantial individual proprietary network of chargers with the Tesla. So when you're buying the Tesla vehicle, you're also buying into a major infrastructure build for clean energy as well. Now, one other point that I would like to make is that if you are going to own an electric vehicle and you can't charge at home, or you just want to access the broader charging network as indicated by PlugShare, you're probably going to end up wanting to buy various different kinds of adapters. There are about 5 different plugs for an electric vehicle for electric vehicles in the US, and these plugs allow access to certain different charging networks. And at least for me, like say for example, if I was interested in getting a Model 3, I'd probably want an SAE J1772 adapter to gain broader access to level 2 charging infrastructure. And I might want to get a CHAdeMO adapter or another fast charger adapter so that I could access the other fast chargers that are non-Tesla fast chargers. And if I got a Kia Niro or a Kona, I might also be looking at the J1772 adapter as well, because for example, the Kona has like a 3-pin charging structure. So there's a lot of different plugs, and if you're looking at charging away from home frequently, as I am, you might end up having to look at some adapters as well. So that's something that I'm looking at. So just a broad overall assessment of the accessibility for charging infrastructure in my area for a clean energy vehicle, and to point out that it actually looks really doable between the work availability, the large availability of level 2 charging infrastructure, particularly level 2 charging infrastructure close to where I live, as well as a good number of fast charging stations in my area. So thanks for joining me. I hope this particular video was helpful for you. If you are interested in getting an electric vehicle and you can't charge at home, for example, and if you're looking to get an electric vehicle and ride share it as a way of sharing clean energy to help confront the climate crisis as I am. So thank you for joining me. I hope you share this widely, and if you do decide to conduct or get involved in rideshare, in sharing clean rides, I'd like to ask you to consider using my Uber referral code, which I will put in the notes at the end of this video. So thank you for joining me, and I'll look forward to chatting with you soon.